door for information on CoSpaces.
We're live.
Okay. Hello, here's a live presentation from ISTE 2018 on CoSpaces. My presentation is called CoSpaces Design and Experience. It's elementary because I'm at an elementary school, K-5. My name is Stephanie Wieczorek. I'm a library media specialist at Wales campus. There are two schools within my school, Wales Elementary and KM Explore, which is a charter school. My Twitter handle is S_Wieczorek, and my email is there. My QR code here if you want my slides for the presentation. It'll also be at the end. So why CoSpaces? CoSpaces EDU is a virtual reality editor, also creates augmented reality. It promotes creativity, which is very important to give to our students. Computer science is a necessary literacy, important for all students to develop before they leave our schools. CoSpaces works on any platform or device and offers continuous learning, so you can continue editing at home and at school. You can integrate school and high school. You set the stage, you code your objects, and then share your world or space to anyone. So setting the stage is easy. You select your environment and drag and drop your objects from the library. The object library just updated, so you can easily find characters, animals, housing elements, nature, transportation, other items, building blocks, and so forth. When you drag an object into your world, you can single tap and have three choices: to size, make your object bigger or smaller, rotate your objects either side to side, like a somersault, or front to back. So those are the three tools you see when you single tap an object. When you double tap an object, then you get into the inspector, which offers many more options for your object. Each object has its own unique choices, but if the one my students love the most is the moving ball, which allows the characters to do the fun dance bop or be an argumentative type of pointing stage or any various animations. In underwater objects, you can make your fish look like they're swimming more realistically, or if you're a horse, it can be a gallop, so it looks as they're coded to move forward and turn into other coding elements, it looks more like a natural, actual living, breathing thing. So when you turn on in the inspector to be able to code your object, you have to tag your item to be able to be found in your coding library. So when you tag your you have to turn this button to use in CoBlocks or Blockly on. Now when you press the code and choose your language, you'll find your object. Coding elements, I'm an elementary media specialist, as I said, so the things I use the most are transition, to be able to move and turn, move things forward, turn the objects. I use control loops, so you can do an object one time, 5 times, or forever. I love, and so do my students, they love the physics option, where you can blast off a rocket. You can change the degree or the force of the rocket. I also use physics to stack dominoes next to each other, so there's blocks that you can create, and once you activate your first object, it can fall into the next object, which triggers like a chain reaction type of event, and I'll show you that later. Other coding elements I use often, actions under generic, and notice these are all colored, so they've just updated, so elementary young students to any age student can easily find them. So under actions and generic, you can have your people or your objects speak, to think and say. They can have information, text box types of information for nonfiction or whatever. And you can control your animation to start with the gallop, and when they reach their destination, they stand still. Action sound, we use MP3 files where we can have students narrate their story, so they can have their stage set with whatever their environment needs to be, and then they can narrate and read their stories that they wrote and embed them into their world. It's a great presentation thing that we can share then with parents and really make their stories come alive. Other elements, there's a pause and wait. There's the run parallel, means I want my shark and my sea turtle to do an action together. I don't want my sea turtle to have all the fun and then the shark wait. You can run actions together. And then the go-to scene is a really neat one. You have to have your scenes named, but when you trigger something, like you press on the house, the next scene can look like it's inside the house. So you can be one scene outside the house, press the front door, now you're inside the house. So here's events or triggers, so when you click something or when it's hovered on. Here's more on the sound recording. Once we create an MP3 file, when we go to the upload in the library, once you upload the item, then you can code it to play the sound. Like I said, CoSpaces is so versatile. It can apply anything, math, science, social studies, language arts in a fiction or nonfiction type of way, and can be implemented for any age. So here are some links to my examples, which I have open. So here's a physics example in like a it's a chain reaction. Just going to show you some real quick examples. Here's a desert biome where they have speech bubbles. Oh, I wonder where the bugs are. I'm so hot. Warning, quicksand. As you navigate through these spaces, it's meant to be viewed in like a virtual reality headset or goggle. Sometimes you can have your camera elevate or fly, which is really neat as well. You can grab your bins and kind of see your whole setting around, and my students love to put things on all levels because I mentioned the elevation where you can be on the like floor versus in the sky. This is a large scene that I had students as an assignment. They had to create a scene of the United States National Park that they were studying, and this is a virtual museum. And again, there are these links. If you, I'll at the end have a QR code that you can get later. Many scenes, and my elementary kids had free reign on how they were using the tool. I should mention, I started using CoSpaces in December and quickly learned with my students. I didn't feel like I had to know everything before I jumped in with my students. So I learned a lot by getting them rolling, knowing a few things, and then looking at them going, how'd you do that? I'm not sure if this will speak, but this is a Goldilocks replication where my student recreated the story in different scenes. Like a retell. It could be a fractured fairy tale. It doesn't have to be actual story, and animations of her emotions. This is a representation of Hatchet, misspelling there. This is a story about a 13-year-old boy who goes to visit his dad in Canada, but his pilot has a heart attack and dies and the plane crashes. What will happen to Brian throughout his journey? So it's a true student example of a work, an artifact, with various scenes of what this student thought. You know, there's the plane crash, and he has 4 different scenes. There's the shelter. This is a math activity I did with some 4th graders, and I created this space and then assigned it to everyone. And then we talked about how we can code to move to a specific XYZ position. I'm going to show you a little bit. So I have a clear box where I have the X and Y coordinates on the floor, and then I have a piece of yarn on the top where I can explain, 0 versus, zeros on the ocean floor, and explain some math terms so they kind of understand. And in the inspector, you can also see the exact position of a certain object. So when we were doing that activity and they had the code, they had to understand 2 negatives, so negative, negative, positive, positive, a negative, positive, and a positive, negative, and so forth. So they really had to kind of understand, and we did keep things kind of on the ocean floor for the activity. They didn't have to, but that's how we started. This is a race, so they had to take 2 objects and decide the finish line, which they could get their object XYZ coordinate, and then they could code it to move exactly to that XYZ spot and slow it down, so they could determine who was going to be the winner, which object was going to get there first. Another thing I do is start objects in different places and place another object that gives you the appearance. Instead of going exactly by the tree, I can move this ball anywhere around the tree and change the coding of where that horse is going to be galloping. These are all just ideas. This is a physics one. I was trying to show that you could roll up and down, so a car that can kind of fly off of an object that you have to decide it's a physics thing, and then rolling a ball off. Oops, I think this is the same one. This is my girl dancing forward, back, left, right, and another element where if you press the block, it's going to make a roll, and if you I'm going to go to another scene and see if it can build. I was trying to play around with how to actually kind of have a cause and effect. If I activate one thing, it's going to trigger other actions. So like I said, it can be, this is more on the physics, the chain reaction. To be able to set physics, I told you how to tag your it to be able to find and code in Blockly, but to create physics items in the inspector, so you tag under the price tag to say you're going to code in Blockly, but you also design the element as a physics item. So when like a blue block is pressed, it's going to turn toward the red. Let's see if this opens. So it says press me, and I code the blue to go towards the other ones to start like a chain reaction. This is a little bit more complicated where my items are on upper level, and since it's a gravitational physics item, it's going to recognize gravity, so as I press, it's going to trigger. Oh, where'd the ball go? There's my code for the girl to dance, to move forward, backward, left, and right. I was copying a code because there's another instructional element at my school that uses the make code. Make code works along with Minecraft EDU, and I was trying to copy some of those elements. Here's how to build a tower or a row. And so the experience part of CoSpaces can be on a PC or any type of browser. You can use it on a tablet and also in a VR device. Camera controls can be orbit, where you kind of circle your design. It can be fixed, where you're in the center and rotate all the way around. It can be a walk on the floor or fly. And if you're flying and you're using a PC, you can use the Q, W, E, ASD keys to do special things. It's very portable, so you can share your space easily by URL or QR code on iOS, Android, or a headset. And on the other side of this booth, if you want to learn more about the Class VR headsets, that is going to be my next adventure, because it's another way to transport and really have kids experience their own worlds that they create. So, some more resources, and my name again is Stephanie Wieczorek. I'm a media specialist at an elementary school in Wisconsin. QR code to have my presentation if you're interested. Thank you for coming.
Stephanie, can you go back to your presentation link?
My presentation link is, you want the bit.ly?
The bit.ly,
yes. Right here's the bit.ly address. I'm around if you have any questions or want further demonstrations.